Welcome to Public Health Matters, where we talk about matters in public health. I'm Jane Goodman, Communications Specialist at the Nashua Division of Public Health and Community Services. We have a very special show for you today, but before we get to that, we would like to do a short COVID update for both the world and the nation, and of course our local Nashua community. Currently in the world, we have 20.9 million cases with 760,000 deaths. In the United States, we have reached 5.2 million cases and we have approximately 167,000 deaths. In New Hampshire, we fare a little bit better than on the US. Overall, we have almost 7,000 cases. We have 89% of those cases that have recovered, 10% who have been hospitalized, and we have about a 6% case fatality rate. Looking a little bit broader in New Hampshire, narrower, I should really say, we have Hillsborough County with 3,891 cases and 280 deaths. If we look a little bit closer to the Nashua community, we have a cumulative cases of 819. Currently, we have 36 active cases and 132 contacts with that. We have had 41 deaths and 96% recovery rate, which is a little bit higher than in the state in general, and we've had an 11% hospitalization rate. Again, we are even with the state. We have a 6% case fatality rate. If we look at the graph that we've brought along today, we look at contacts per case, and you can see here that they have really ratcheted up in the last, by week 28. We are seeing a lot more contacts per case, and that just means that people are getting out, people are socializing, and that's all good, but we do ask that when you do that socializing, you wear your mask, you do it outside if possible, you are washing your hands well, and you continue to be vigilant, you disinfect surfaces, and most importantly, please stay home if you're not feeling well. So now that we've had that update, let's turn our attention to our very special guest today. We have Gail Moriarty. Welcome, Gail.
Thank you.
Gail is the president of the Picker Artists, and I may have all these titles a little bit off, but you can correct me.
That's fine.
And also the president of the Nashua International Sculpture Symposium.
Nashua International Sculpture Symposium.
Which is quite a mouthful,
it's
I have to say.
We say Nashua Sculpture Symposium a lot because the international makes it even longer.
Yes. So, Gail, tell us a little bit about, let's back up a little bit and tell us a little bit about the Picker Artists and what it meant during the COVID pandemic as well to get back to work and to be out of work. So let's just start. Give us a little background about you and the artists.
So I am a custom jewelry designer by trade, also managing partner of the Picker Artists along with Mark and Kathleen Frank from Renaissance Glassworks. And we have been managing the Picker Artists for 4 years. We started at the Picker Building, which was owned by Jack Bulger over behind where Clock Tower Apartments is. So we were there for 8-10 years or so. That's where we all got our friendships. And then when he sold that building, we decided to form the Picker Artist and build our spot, which is the other end of Gate City Fence's warehouse building, right on Pine Street. We're not at Pine Extension, we're right on Pine Street, right across from Just Lights. So we've been there for 4 years now, and I'm also the president of the Nashua International Sculpture Symposium, so it made sense to bring the symposium home. We used to have it at NIMCO, but since then we've had to move out of NIMCO, and we just decided to take it home to the Picker Artist. So this is our 2nd year.
Okay, doing it on Pine Street.
Doing it on Pine Street.
Great. So tell me a little bit, because I think people are probably wondering, why are we talking about the Picker Artists and the Sculpture Symposium on a public health show?
Right.
But you have quite a story, Gail, because you had to really pivot after the COVID-19 pandemic took hold of our community and nationwide. You had the symposium set up, and you really had to change a lot. So can you walk us through a little bit of the changes you had to make?
Sure.
And how you went about doing that?
So usually, over the past 12 years, this is our 13th annual symposium. So for 12 years, we've had our symposium in May every year. This year, we started planning it like we always do back in September, and Jim is looking for our sculptors, and we're talking about who to choose, and that happened again this year like it always does. And then by March, we were well into planning. We had our contracts out to our international sculptors. And then the pandemic hit, and we realized we could not have the symposium in May. I happened to have a great conversation with our wonderful mayor, and we decided that we would just hang on and not cancel the symposium, but just kind of take a deep breath and just hold tight. So we did. May went by, and we started talking more about it, and when all these businesses closed and everyone decided that, you know, what's most important? What most important is health. What's most important was getting back to the basics, we decided. So in that time of thinking and pausing, we decided to, maybe we could go ahead. Maybe we could start thinking about it. Maybe we could open it up a little. So I contacted Bobby Bagley. She is unbelievably amazing and so great to work with. And we had a nice Zoom meeting, and I told her how we always ran the symposium, which was local people would house the sculptors in their home, and then they would bring meals and home-cooked meals and sit and eat with the sculptors. And we went through the whole symposium, and together we decided that we could figure this out. So we came up with a 5-page safety protocol list that we're following.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 pages. And I also met with the mayor via Zoom and went through the 5 pages with him, so he kind of had an idea of what we're thinking, and we all decided it was a really solid plan and we would move ahead. So everything we're doing this year is different than other years because safety protocol is number one. Safety of the sculptors, safety of our picker artists, safety of the symposium board, and safety of the general public is number one this year. So you have to wear masks, you have to stay 6 feet away. Just like in everywhere else, but we want people to come. We want people to enjoy. We have Jim Larson, who is our artistic director, here with us, and he'll tell more about the actual what's going to happen with this symposium, but we want people to come and experience it.
And Bobby told me you were one of the first people in the community to actually thank the city for having the mask ordinance.
Oh, she did?
Because it really meant that you could open your studios back up.
Yeah.
And now are you open to foot traffic in your studios?
Yes. So our building is narrow. We have 2 floors. We have 9 studios and 12 artists. We do all custom work. We do custom quilting, custom stained glass, custom photography, specialized printing. We do so much in our building, custom jewelry. We depend on the general public to survive, obviously, but we also need to be safe. Well, our hallways aren't even 6 feet wide, so there's no way of us to have the public come in and not have masks on and keep everyone safe. So the mask ordinance meant that the city's behind us, and the city, it supports us and wants us to open up again, and also understands that, safety is the number one most important thing. So we have a whole supply of masks at the doors. If someone doesn't have a mask, we'll give them one. We have hand sanitizers at every entrance. Our doors. A lot of times our doors will be locked only so we can control the amount of people that are in the building at one time if it starts to get busy, because we aren't 6 feet wide. So we do need to be careful that we don't overwhelm our hallways with a lot of people at the same time. And if that happens, we just divert them to different directions of the building. But we've had really good luck with that. People are being really respectful, and they're coming in, they're wearing the mask, they're using the hand sanitizer at the door, and we all want to keep everyone safe. So it's really been a real plus to us. We're very thankful that the city passed the ordinance. For us, it means that we can open up and take a deep breath and know that we're trying the best we can to keep everyone safe.
Great. So getting back to the symposium, because you made so many changes and you did mention a few of them, but the first thing that really struck me is you had to go from international to really pretty local. So your 3 artists that are coming are within a drive of Nashua.
We did.
A 1-day drive. And what are some of the precautions those artists have to take in order to come?
They are self-quarantining at home. They promise to do that for at least 2 weeks. They are self-employed sculptors, and they stay by themselves anyway, for the most part, working in their studio. So they're very happy to do that. They're very happy to self-quarantine. They are going to COVID test to make sure that they come here without having the virus. They want to be as safe as we want to be. We have 3 young emerging artists this year, which is great because they're all under 30. They all have really cool ideas, and Jim will tell you more about what's coming for the sculptures themselves. But safety is number one in their minds as well, and they all really are excited for the opportunity to come to Nashua and to work with us this year. So we got really lucky to find 3 really good great kids.
So we have a domestic sculpture
We
symposium
do for the very
this year.
first time. This is our 13th year, and this is the first time.
That's great. And one thing people should know is that you always feed the sculptors, because
Yes.
these artists, they work all day long.
They do.
take breaks. And Gail was kind enough to show me this studio yesterday, and the private room they have and the spacing they have, and they all have bins for their cups and saucers and what they'll need to eat, but they will have a place to retreat in the air conditioning and safely away from the heat. And so the food, tell me how you're managing the food, because you really run on a shoestring budget here, and you
We do.
really rely on the community for donations.
We're a community project. We could never do this without the community. We have an amazing community in Nashua. We are the only city in the country that has an annual sculpture symposium, which makes us very unique. Our general public understands and supports that, and they help us out. They're the only reason. If it wasn't for the Nashua community, we could never do this. They house our sculptors in their home. In previous years, they have always made the food at their homes for lunch and dinner and bring them and shared a meal with the sculptors, inside or outside. This year, we have to do it a little different for safety protocol. The food has to come from prepared commercial kitchens, the restaurants of the city. Contacted 12 restaurants who are very happy to join us. And so they're going to make 4 lunches and 4 dinners every day for 6 days a week. And we have the general public is going to help us by paying for these meals. So it's $52 for 4 lunches total, including tax and gratuity, and it's $72 for 4 dinners total, tax and gratuity included. And what that provides is 4 boxed meals for our sculptors. So the general public they've gone on our website, and they've gone to the donate a meal page of our website, sign up, send me an email by filling out the form. I'll send them a confirmation of all that they have to do. 2 days before, they call the restaurant and pay that amount, and then the day of, they go pick up and they come and eat with the restaurant. If they don't feel comfortable coming, I'm happy to go grab the meal for them. And they're welcome to come and sit outside. We have 2 10-by-10 tents this year with picnic tables. Great American Downtown is being gracious enough to lend us 2 picnic tables. Lend us 2 picnic tables so that we can have people eat outside with the sculptors at the other table. So you still get to enjoy the experience and sit and chat with the sculptors at a little bit of distance.
Right.
And we're still looking. I think we have 10 or 11 meals now that still need to be funded. So if anyone could help us, we would love that. Just go to our website and
we'll put up the link too.
Yeah, put up the link there
And,
sign up. And all you have to do is, 2 days before call, pay for the meal, call the restaurant that you're scheduled to, pay for the meal, and then if you want to go pick it up and come and join them, we'd love that. You can order your own meal at the restaurant too for a separate fee and off the menu if you'd like to. You could bring your own, because you can bring your own food to come and sit. We just have to have commercially
some distance. Yep, sure.
prepared meals for our sculptors. We also have to feed our sculptors 7 days a week for 3 weeks. So on Sundays and for 4 nights a week, our sculptors have said that they would like to make their own dinners, because restaurant food for 3 weeks, they would like to have a burger or have a home cooked meal. So the 4 of them are going to cook their own meal for 4 nights a week, but we still have to fund that. So even if the restaurant meal schedule is all full, we still need to raise some money to feed the sculptors for the other days that they're cooking on their own. So there is a donate button at the top of our page, on every page, and you can donate with any amount that you want to help us to feed our sculptors.
Okay, and you can find that through the Nashua Sculpture Symposium, or you can just go right to the Picker page as well, the Picker Artists. You can find a link to that as well.
Yep.
And again, we will post that up there during the broadcast. And another thing, so you've mentioned they need meals that are delivered, and then there are donations to sponsor the meals so they can have a little break from that and cook for themselves. And there was one other thing you mentioned, is that someone could actually sponsor a sculptor.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So one more thing about the meals I wanted to mention, that a lot of people would bring them cookies, bring them brownies, drop off food for them through the 3 weeks. But this year it has to be commercially prepared. So if people want to bring them some food, it does have to be, snacks or whatever. It does have to be, from a grocery store.
Wrapped, pre-wrapped,
Yes,
unopened, no big grab bags,
correct,
snack size.
Right.
Yeah,
so
all of that would be appreciated.
It would be appreciated. And so for our sculptors themselves and our sculptors, we are, like I said, we are community-based, and so our funding is looking for people to sponsor a sculpture. We have Sponsorship, 3 sculptors are sponsored every year, $3,500 a piece. It could be one person sponsoring. You could sponsor in the name of someone else. A group could sponsor. 10 people can sponsor. Any different areas of, amounts, dollar amounts, you can sponsor a sculptor. But it's $3,500 to sponsor a sculptor. We need them all sponsored at the end of the year to be successful. The money goes to the sculptor. So the sculptor gets the $3,000, we pay them, and then $500 of it goes to supplies, which it doesn't cover all our supplies, but it does help. And so we're always looking for people to help to sponsor the sculpture. At the end of when they're sponsored, that we have a dedication and we have a plaque that's put up and it says the name of the sponsor on the plaque, or if you're sponsoring it for someone else, their name is whatever you want written is on the plaque.
So I'm not sure that people realize the extent to which this symposium has really created some beautiful things in our city.
It has.
And if you go on the website, and we'll post the map right now, there's an interactive map. You can see where all the sculptures are. And it's really incredible to know that I think it was 32 or
we have 33 now.
33, okay, I was off by one.
And this year we'll only have one because they're going to do one cumulative sculpture, the 3 of them. And Jim will tell you more about that process when he talks with you. But
it's about a 2.5-mile loop, and you can walk around the city, you can see them. I've seen quite a few just walking around downtown, and it's just an amazing thing to have that privilege, really, to have that art in our community.
People do say, oh, that's one of yours. Oh, that's one of yours. You point out the ones on Main Street or the ones by the library. And I always recommend that families take the map, open the inside, and let your kids map out. Because you can go all over the city, look for them. You have a beautiful afternoon, let the kids map out the ones they want to go see. Take pictures of them with the sculptures, and they send them to us, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's really it's a nice family activity, and a great activity to do outside now when we're all hungry for things to do outside and safely. You can get out, get that map. You can use your phone, let your kid use your phone, and kind of trace them around the city. It's really amazing what you guys have done.
We noticed that the people will come they'll just happen by us and think, what are you doing here? And we'll invite them over to come talk, and then they'll bring them a snack, and then they'll come and they'll want to have a meal. And then they come to the closing every year. And then the next year they want to sign up for meals, and they want to house a sculptor. So it's really becomes, once you see just stone sitting beside a building, and next thing you know, you see it being created into something completely different. It's very, very cool.
So we're going to talk to Jim a little bit more about that. But before we let you go, we want to know, so can people still come and watch?
Yes.
And tell us how we do that and where we do that and all the ins and outs.
All right, perfect. Our building is at 3 Pine Street. It is on the corner of Pine and Ledge Street, the other end of Gate City Fences warehouse. You drive down Pine Street, you'll see the stone is already beside the building. Jim keeps dropping off more stone every day. And just come anytime during the day. You'll see us there. We're going to have fencing up to make sure, 2 sets of fencing to make sure that the public is 6 feet away from our sculptors. Come in, watch, stay a while, keep coming back, grab chairs, sit and watch them on the grass. We welcome you to come and really experience this very, very cool event with us. And it's going to start, so August 20th will be our opening, 5:30 at night beside our building. And
can the public come to that, or will that just be live streamed?
Well, not live stream at the time. It's going to be broadcast afterwards.
Oh, broadcast.
Yeah, afterwards that night. But if people want to come and socially distance and watch from a distance, they're very welcome to, as long as they have masks on. Because it's going to be outside beside our building, so there's plenty of room. But every day you can come to our building and watch them. They're going to start the next day, which is the 21st. They work 6 days a week, and they have Sundays off. And 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock, whenever you want to come by, right up to 5 o'clock at night, we welcome you to come by and watch this amazing creation happen.
Well, we're so thrilled. We're so thrilled that by following public health measures, that you're able to carry on, because this is such a gem in the Nashua community, and it was such a community effort. As you mentioned, you had help from the Division of Public Health, you had help from the Mayor's office.
Yes.
A lot of support, and that just enhances and makes us really proud of the community that we live in.
Very, very proud of our health department, because Bobby Bagley is extremely busy, and the fact that she took time to help me through this whole process and make sure that we did it safely, because there is no way I could figure all this out without her help. There is just no way, because there's just too much for me to, I don't know what safety procedures are, and she certainly does. And she took so much time with me, and she helped me so much to make us feel comfortable that we can do this and we can do this safely. Because art is important. Art is part of everyday life. Art is part of healing. We may not have been the essential business in the beginning, of course, but art is essential to life. Art is essential to making you feel relaxed and happy. And what a better thing than to just give this beautiful piece of art to the city and another sculpture place-based sculpture for people to discover in Mine Falls. So
it's really great.
We're really thrilled.
And we're glad you carried on, as we said.
We are too.
Because it is so important, and it shows people that, yes, you can get back to what you do and what you love. Just need to take precautions.
Just take precautions and wear your mask. And if you happen to come by us and you don't have a mask with you, don't worry, we have boxes of masks.
Yes.
So just because you just happen to discover us and you don't know what we're doing, don't let that stop you from coming over. We have masks. Just ask us. We're glad to hand you one and come and hang out a while.
Sounds great, Gail. Well, thank you so much for being here. We're going to come back with your artistic director, Jim Larson, but we'll be back in a minute.
And we'll see you at the site.
Right. Can't wait.
Thanks.
The use of face masks in public may reduce the spread of infection in the community. Everyone can help prevent the spread of respiratory droplets even when not feeling sick. Face masks or cloth coverings can be handmade or purchased. Medical face masks should be saved and used by healthcare professionals. Wearing a face mask will help protect people around you, including those at higher risk of severe illness from COVID-19 and workers who come in close contact with other people. Wear a face mask in the community when visiting indoor, crowded, or busy places. Face masks should be worn along with physical distancing, covering a cough or sneeze, washing hands, and avoiding touching your nose, mouth, and eyes with unwashed hands. Using face masks in a safe way is important. Face masks should cover your face from the top of the nose down to your chin. Clean hands with soap and water or sanitizer before and after touching your mask. Remove the mask from the ear loop. Do not touch the front of the mask. If disposable, throw away in an appropriate container. If reusable, wash often with hot water and regular detergent. Encourage others to participate and practice safe and healthy behavior. Thank you, Greater Nashua, for helping to slow the spread. For more information, you can visit the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, The Lancet, and Yale Medicine.
Welcome back to Public Health Matters, where we talk about matters of public health. I am happily back here with Jim Larson, who is the artistic director for the Sculpture Symposium taking place in Nashua. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's exciting to be here.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day, and I can attest to that because I had a chance to visit the studio yesterday and just see how much you are preparing for this and all the changes you're making in order to have the show go on, so to speak, and the giant slabs of rock that you are moving around, and it's just really incredible. And we'll talk about that as we move through our program today. But Jim, you have a story that relates to public health, and so we really wanted to hear that today. So we thank you for sharing it with us. But back in March, you were in the New Jersey area, close to New York City, and tell us, you started to not feel so well.
Right, so this is towards the beginning of March. I was living down in Newark, New Jersey, starting a large-scale artist residency program. And March 12th I was out in Brooklyn seeing some friends, and then the next day, 2 days, started to feel really terrible, like very high fever, over 103.
Oh, wow.
I was really sick, and this is right as the pandemic is hitting America, and like some version of panic is slowly creeping into daily life. And so I got to sit in my Newark apartment all by myself for 2 weeks with a fever that wouldn't go away no matter which medication I took to try and lower it. And after chatting with many doctors and receiving an influenza test that was negative, and taking Tamiflu, which did almost nothing, the conclusion was that I had the coronavirus. And that was before any testing was really available or easy to get. And so there was no real way to know at that point. But I mean, it's not something I would want to do again, and I don't recommend it for anyone. It was pretty tough, and
Pretty
I felt
harrowing, especially you were by yourself, like you said.
Yeah.
You also said you went to visit some friends. Did you happen to know other people that also felt pretty badly due to some exposure?
Sure. Yeah. So we were a pretty tight group of young people working down there as artists in our studio space. And there's some confusion about who was or maybe wasn't sick, but there was a whole group of us that was like pretty sick all at that point. Some of my friends that lived in Brooklyn, and then a couple of the other artists in the program.
Well, we're glad you're better. And you did subsequently have the antibody test, which confirmed that you had the antibodies for the coronavirus.
Absolutely.
So what you were feeling was truly COVID-19.
Right.
And we just like to know that this is a coronavirus success story, but it is very real.
Yeah.
That this is a very serious, can be very serious. Luckily, you're very young, and that probably helped with your recovery as well.
Sure.
So let's get back to the symposium. Let's get back to the good stuff. So I did have a chance to visit the studio yesterday. Tell me what your role is with regard to the symposium.
So I am the artistic director, which means I'm ultimately a facilitator. I ask and invite 3 typically international, though this year national, sculptors to come and carve stone, weld steel, make monumental public sculpture in the city of Nashua. And I help them through the conceptual development part of that process, and then all the way through the actual production of the work, the technical production, and then the installation. And so for the past couple weeks, I've been sourcing the material. This year, it's a variety of different stone, some weathering steel, cast resin, bronze, actually fabricated bronze, not cast bronze, potentially stainless steel, and glass. So a large variety.
So you're going to a lot of different places in New Hampshire to find this stuff.
Absolutely. New Hampshire and Vermont, for the stone anyway, much of it is from Vermont. But this being the granite state, obviously we couldn't escape using quite a bit of New Hampshire granite.
Right. We would feel badly if you didn't.
Yeah.
So.
But most of the material is salvaged or reclaimed, saved from the crusher or the scrap bin. So that means the footprint of what we do is incredibly low. And then we also have the bragging right of saying that our artists make something out of nothing. Like we invite 3 artists to come to Nashua, and for a very small budget, we have 3 incredible monumental sculptures.
Yeah, and I have a picture, if we could put that up, of the symposium from last year.
Sure.
And that really shows us some incredible variety, and these were your international sculptors. But even so, I think that viewers will probably recognize some of these sculptures from seeing them around the Nashua area. And you can see these are no small pieces to move around. So what are your tricks, Jim? Because I was pretty fascinated by that.
Well, all of my friends, especially those who aren't artists, always joke whenever they say, Jim, oh, what are you up to today? I always say, oh, I'm just moving something around, which seems like an unfortunately large part of the job. But I have a crane truck that does a lot of the heavy lifting, and then it seems like this year for our installation on site, we're going to be using some backcountry rigging techniques, mainly tension cables between trees, for installing the heavy work. And that is particularly exciting for me because it's totally low impact on this forest space that we're installing the work in. like we're not driving heavy machinery over sensitive routes. Although it is pretty technical and like has a very specific set of equipment associated with it. But
Well, you get to learn something in the process then, because every year is probably different what materials you use, where you install the art, and those kind of things.
absolutely. Yeah, I know last year we had a very generous crane rental donation from Chase Crane up in Hudson. And actually twice they came out with their giant cranes, the first time with a 250-ton crane to install the work, and the second time with the most nimble crane I had seen. And John Hudson's piece, Cloud Hands, which is right by exit 5 as you get off the Everett Turnpike, 16 feet tall, over 16 feet tall, and weighs just about 16,000 pounds. And sure,
Wow.
a few pieces all assembled, but still moving something like that is an undertaking.
And it's quite stunning, too. It's a really beautiful sculpture. So
Certainly one of my favorites.
we're very lucky to have that. We do have some pictures from last year as well. Not last year, sculptures around the city that you can see. So you can just kind of see the diversity of the work that's really being done. Tell me, Jim, is there a theme this year for sculpting, or is it, what's going on with that?
Sure. So every year we have a theme, and typically we come together as a board, and I help facilitate the conversation amongst board members about what would be best for Nashua and the artists that we intend to invite, as far as direction, as far as a suggestion on where to take their work and develop their ideas. That would be our theme. This year it's a place in time. And as we imagined a symposium this year, there are many hurdles and many reasons why we shouldn't have one. And so the question we were trying to answer as we work to develop a workable solution to a pandemic is, how do we justify having a symposium with so much going on that says no? So the answer to that question was, we need to help Nashua overcome many of the pains that it's feeling from the pandemic presently. So we were kind of excited to dig into how Nashua residents are challenged with accessing their communal spaces. And this is tied closely, we talked earlier today on the radio about this, tied closely with mental health, as so much of our mental health is tied parallel to our identity and how we perceive identity of ourselves. So much of identity comes from place, comes from your community, where your community is. And so we were excited to provide a place where Nashua residents could be, even with social distancing in mind, outside, and still feel that connection that communal space has to offer.
Which is so important in this time, too. You really couldn't have come at a better time
Exactly.
to offer that to the community.
So we're asking our artists to install all of their work, all 3 of their works, together at one installation site as one kind of harmonious, collaborative work that creates a installation space where Nashua residents can go and walk through, interact with these potentially kinetic and tangible interactive works that really objectify the fact that Nashua residents are out in their community experiencing this communal space.
Wow, that's really amazing. It's going to be quite a gift to the community to have that installation. And as you said, because of the COVID pandemic, we're going to have 3 artists working on one installation. And that's quite a challenge probably in of itself. What does that present for you? I mean, normally you have 3 people working on their own things, putting them in 3 spots. So this could be quite large from what you were describing.
It sounds like it will be pretty large. It's certainly an undertaking. We've kind of floated dimensions of 50 feet long and 30 feet wide, potentially 16 feet tall. Out there, and those are totally loose, and the artists really don't know what they're making yet, and they won't know until they have a chance to work together, see their material, see the actual installation space. But I think the excitement of the symposium is that all of that new ground that they're breaking, like all of that progress that they make to develop the work is on show in front of the whole city at 3 Pine Street. It is a literal stage. As you drive by, backdrop of a 200-foot long brick wall, and the artists are making work before the community members. And that is why I'm involved, because so much of art making goes on like in the private studio space, and to put that art making in front of the public really helps those who see the work understand why the decisions were made that went into producing the work.
Mm-hmm. And how do the artists feel? Because now they're really going to be on display. And you had mentioned earlier, that they're used to being in the privacy of their studios. Mm-hmm. So how does this make these particular sculptors feel, or sculptors in the past who really are on display?
They are certainly hesitant. We are fortunate to have a very easygoing and fun-loving group this year. I think they're a little shy, so there will be a break-in period, I'm sure, as they start to open up to the community a little bit. I think that having their work watched will help them really consider their actions as they produce the work as being totally significant in terms of the content for the final work, the final piece. And it's my hope that those actions, those like marks of the human hand on their work, remain with the pieces as they sit on this hilltop next to Mine Falls Park for years to come.
I got to say, the marks of the human hand, I love that expression. I think that's really telling. We have young artists coming. And are they working together now? Are they talking now? Are they having Zoom calls, or, trying to figure out who's doing what? Or is this something that's just going to flow from the heart, and they're going to mark, as you said, their place in time when they get here?
I think it's probably going to be both. We've had a few Zoom calls already that have been a lot of fun, and it sounds like the artists will be hopefully getting along really well, which is essential if you're making a collaborative piece. This is the first time in the symposium's history that we've asked all of the artists to make essentially one cumulative piece, one cumulative work. They each have their own authorship, obviously, but it's only a place if all of the works can come together as one exhibition, essentially.
So I guess we'll back up to our public health thing. You've had to do a lot of extra things in order to get ready for this particular symposium, because we are in a pandemic. We do have to make it safe. You toured the facility. I toured the facility with you yesterday, and you did show me that you'll be roping off the area and building a new dock. And if you want to just tell us a little bit about all of the extra that you're doing, and why we're really looking for support for the symposium, because all of this extra work really takes time.
Sure. We're fortunate in some ways because we work outside anyway, so that's nice. And carving stone with all the dust, we wear respirators most of the time as it is.
So you're a little ahead of the game on that.
Just a little.
But that's about the only thing.
That's about the only thing.
Yeah.
Typically, we have many volunteers that help lessen the load on the artists and on me. And this year, just to try and minimize the risk of having many people around, it seems like the volunteers won't be as involved. Certainly with the technical aspects of the symposium, producing the work, moving the work, and honestly, feeding the artists is usually a little bit of work. It's not usually a struggle, but this year it is definitely a lot of extra work. And I can thank our board, specifically Gail, who you saw earlier, for putting in so many hours to make that happen. So definitely look at our website.
Absolutely.
And feed some starving artists. That's always the catchphrase. But yeah, it's all detail oriented as far as the changes go. I mean, it's everything from having very particular place settings and all of that, just to minimize risk of cross-contamination. And it's a lot of extra energy that usually we would put towards making the work, but we figure better to put the extra energy in than to have no work at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. And your sculptors probably are feeling reassured that you've taken all of these precautions because you want to be in a safe space while you work.
Right.
And we all feel that way. Even at Public Health, we want to be in a safe space when we go into work. And so we, of course, wear our masks into our offices, and we don't work outside, but when we get into our own private space, we do put on our masks and that kind of thing. Is there anything else you would love to tell us about the symposium? It does start on August 20th, and it runs through September 12th, I believe it is. And on September 12th, there'll be an installation, and that will be near Mines Falls.
Yes, so the installation site is on a little wooded hill above the boat ramp that's at the kind of southwestern end of Mine Falls Park. So it's right near Stello Stadium, that entrance to Mine Falls. If you walk up the hill into the mostly pine tree woods, you will see a slight flat spot on top of this hill overlooking the gatehouse. That's where the work will be installed. Huge approval process that was pushed through by our board members to have the Mine Falls Advisory Committee feel good about having a work like that in their park. And then the Department of Public Works also had their input. And the city officials have been amazing to us, as always. They're so enthusiastic and helpful.
So this just reminds us what a community effort this is. This is, an effort from the city, Public Works, like you said, from the Mines Falls Commission or overseers, just to make this happen and to preserve the arts in our community and to enhance our community with these installations. So it's really such a great thing. Again, it makes us really proud of Nashua that we come together and we can do these things as a city and bring in a lot of people to help and volunteer. And well, we can't bring in a lot of volunteers, as you said, excuse me, but we can hope that people will sponsor a meal, sponsor a sculptor, and have an opportunity to do that as well, so that we can keep supporting the arts and that we can really mark this place and time, as you said, because this is an incredible place in our time. I guess I pray often that that we won't be seeing it again for a long, long time. But we're really looking forward to seeing what these three artists create and what you've done behind the scenes. We thank you for that contribution to the community. And I thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to put the word out about what we do and get people enthusiastic about hosting three artists in their community.
And if you do want to donate, you can go to the Picker webpage, or you can go to NashuaSculptureSymposium.org and make a donation there for a meal or sponsor a sculptor. Get a group together. Let's preserve this. Let's mark our place and time, Nashua, so that we can carry on this fabulous tradition and we can enjoy it for years to come in all our parks and our streets. And thank you both to Gail and to Jim for joining us. And I just want to give a quick public health reminder that if you are in need of a COVID-19 test, we do run a clinic every Tuesdays from 3 to 5 in the Elm Street parking garage. If you call 589-3456, you can make an appointment. Thank you so much for joining us for Public Health Matters.